Kirishima, I called quietly, brows furrowing as I glanced out from behind the girl shire again, and this time a familiar mess of spiky red hair emerges from behind one of the trees. Nearly tripping over as he passed through the bush, he glances up to finally meet my eye, waving awkwardly with a nervous smile on his face. Hey, he drags out and I deadpan, brushing past the still, clearly angry horse. I make my way over to meet him, arms crossed over my chest while he waits, sweat dropping with my approach. What are you doing here? I question, and he blinks in confusion, eyes flickering up to look at the huffing horses just a few feet behind me. Actually, shouldn't I be asking you that? He wonders out loud, and I pause, expression falling slack. He's partially right. And an irritated snort sounding off behind me. He reaches out, placing a hand on my shoulder and moving so we would trade spots, and he could be between me and the angered animals. I don't say anything as I turn around to face him again, his hand falling from my arm and returning to his side. So, why are you all the way out here? He starts up again, finally taking his attention away from the two to talk to me. God. You know how dangerous it is out here. With this comment, I nodded in agreement. Just want some fresh air, I stated. Now, my turn. You followed me. He jerked up at my comment, brows furrowing. Of course I did. You know I'm supposed to protect you, right? He defends himself and I deadpan. And when I walk off into the woods, your first thought is to sneak after me? I wondered and cursed under his breath. You nearly scared the life out of me. I continued and his shoulders sagged a bit. Okay, I'm sorry. He apologizes, while I'm still trying, causing me to pause again. Staring up at the crimson-red guard, I can't really get mad at him for simply doing his job, so I sigh, nodding to gesture that I was taking his apology. I'm sorry too. I know you're just trying to do your job, I state, and one of the horses behind him stomps her hooves into the dirt, huffing with her attitude still clearly as day. Kirishima jumps at the sound, head glancing back to pinpoint the Shire. God. I chuckle, moving to walk past him, but he lightly puts an arm out in front of me, making me pause once more to look at him. Hey, it's fine, I reassure, raising my own hand to brush him aside so I could approach the tall creature. Be careful, he states, and stops once I reach into my satchel and hand out another sugar cube. Earlier, you were asking me what I was doing out here, I commented, seeing that she had already calmed down with a large sum after taking in such a small treat. I place my hand on her neck, patting it lightly. This is why. I finally answer, returning my attention back towards him. The moonlight spreads across his features, casting shadows through the spikes of his hair, and leaving room for me just to see how completely confused he was. The horse? He questions, casually approaching and pausing behind me when she turns her head his way and snorts again, almost as if she's warning him. As I watch another shadow grow over Kirishima, I couldn't help but snicker that escapes my lips when he jumps again, head snatching to look behind him as the nuzzle of another Shire brushes against his shoulder. Horses, I corrected his previous question, and he reaches up his hand to pet the animal. That is now continuing to investigate him. Beady eyes, probably searching for more treats. Here, you freaked him out earlier, so I didn't have time to get him anything. I speak up after watching the two for a moment. As I come up to his side, Kirishima sends me another confused glance, crimson brows furrowed in the shadows of the moon. With his hand still brushing up and down the Shire's muzzle, he watches as I reach into my satchel yet again, retrieving another sugar cube and lifting it for the horse, who gladly turned his head towards me to take the treat. You came here to give them treats, I answer when his voice trails off, reaching into my satchel one last time to pull out another sugar cube and hand it to the soldier. She had to, so he gets to, I exclaimed, nodding my head towards the Shire, and ushering Kirishima to hand it over to the animal. His eyes flicked down at the small food in his hand before looking up to the fixated horse and give him the second treat. Whilst he's busy, I reach up and grab a handful of the Shire's mane, gently brushing my hand through it and detangling those poor long locks. And when I'm on the second braid, a sound off from where Kirishima stood, my eyes flickering up to meet his. What? I ask, and he clears his throat, averting his eyes. You really like these horses, he comments, and I shrug, running the braids through my palm before letting it drop to the rest of his hair. Yeah, I guess you could say that, I reply, a light blush of embarrassment dancing across my cheeks as I idly scratch the satchel strap hanging on my shoulder as we fall into an awkward silence. I did my small routine, so we can go back now. I speak up over the crickets and other wildlife that had seemed to grow louder during our pause. Kirishima quickly snapped out of his frozen state and had fallen into, hurriedly agreeing with me, to which I wasted no time in passing by him to leave. His footsteps were quiet, to follow as well, as his figure coming to a trot at my side as we headed back to the way we had came from. The silence between us wasn't too loud compared to the rustling of the bushes as we passed through them, breaking from the path we had been following for days now to get into the forest. So you said routine back there. He brings up, earning my attention once more and chasing me a nod nearly. Yeah. How long have you been doing this? He asks, curiosity flowing in his words as he lifts a branch for me to duck under. Doing what? I speak up to play dumb as he goes under the branch and then lets go. If leaves shuffle loudly as the wood falls behind his figure, a closed-mouthed smile on his lips as he gently shouldered his... What? Is it supposed to be... On here it says shouldered my elbow. I guess it's supposed to be elbowed my shoulder. Speaking out of following a routine, you were to give horses treats? I deadpan, wanting to groan at how I managed to mess up and reveal my small hobby. But instead, I just pause in silence. Please don't tell anyone about this. I started, and his head tilts slightly at my request. Why not? He questions, and I can't help but run my hand along the satchel strap on my shoulder nervously. It really wouldn't be too good for my image, you know. A noble woman who sneaks out at night to feed animals? I point out. Plus, you already know I have enough money to match any demands you have to keep my secret. I'll name a price and I'll... Whoa. He cuts in with a laugh. You don't need to give me anything. If you want me to keep it a secret, I'll keep it a secret. He smiles, but even with the jester tone in his voice, I still felt a little uneasy. Really? I question in disbelief as he nods. Of course. Then he pauses before snapping his fingers as a new thought came to mind, and a part of me kind of assumed he was finally considering using this small secret to blackmail me and decide on a price. But only if you start taking me from now on, he states as my brows furrowed. What? Why? I argue, and he shrugs. You asked for my price, and that's my price. He states easily, and I finally groan. You can't be serious. He shakes his head. And you can't expect me to just sit back while you wander off in the middle of the night without any protection? Kirishima comments, and I only scoff. Wow, thanks. I respond sarcastically as we break through the tree line and find ourselves back into the campsite. I took an oath to protect you, he reminds, and I grumbled as we approached the back of my tent and I crouched down to lift the back flap up. Fine. I finally cave in and glance over my shoulder to see those sharp teeth out and with a victorious smile on his face. We can talk more tomorrow. So, good night, Kirishima, I say, earning a slight bow from the soldier. Good night, my lady, he replies before pausing and looking to me with an expression that says he wants to say something. You know, I don't think anyone would care if they found out. It sounds like a fun hobby, he comments, and I shake my head, a scoff coming with a soft smile falling on my features. See you tomorrow. And once the flap falls back into place, I step away from the wall. Wall thing, listening to his footsteps as he circles back to the guard to the front of the tent, and I take this time to strip the satchel from my shoulder.